Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March edition of our 2021 SMART series. My name is Emily Wenzel, and I am the Director of Events and Programs for the Iowa City Area Business Partnership. This afternoon, we are joined by Rina Jensen, Business Resiliency Coach, for a presentation on how your mental fitness impacts the resiliency of your business. We will be recording this session, and we'll have it posted on our YouTube page shortly after we finish in case you need to leave early. Since this is a meeting format instead of a webinar, you will need to turn your camera off if you do not wish to appear in the recording. Before we get to our presentation today, I have a few people that I would like to thank. First, I'd like to thank our lead sponsor, MediaCom Business. Yes, I would also like to thank our supporting sponsors, BRL Human Resources Consulting, the cities of Coralville and Iowa City, and Terry Lockridge and Dunn for their support of our online programming. Real quickly, I'd like to play a message from one of our sponsors, MediaCom Business.
What's the measure of success for my business? It's the ability to keep serving my customers, keep evolving, keep succeeding under any circumstances. It's also having the right technology to restructure, reimagine, or reboot my business without slowing down. Fast, secure business Wi-Fi internet from MediaCom Business helps me achieve this, no matter what the future brings to my doors. MediaCom Business makes it easy for small business to do big things.
If you'd like to get in touch with MediaCom about their business internet packages, you can reach out to Terry Carpenter. His information is on the screen. Real quick, I would like to go over how we're going to take questions today. We typically have the Q&A box, but since we're in a meeting this time, you can just put your questions right in the chat. And if we get to the end and you'd like to ask your question out loud, you'll be able to do that as well. Now that all of that is taken care of, it is time for me to introduce our wonderful speaker, Vienna Jensen.
Hello, how are you all? Emily, I cannot share. Oh, yes, I can. My bad. All right. Thank you all for joining today. Come on. I am Rina. Your presentation today is mental fitness, your key to business resiliency. And I cannot stand to be talked at during a presentation. So I am a very interactive person. You are welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question at any time. I'm totally down for that. I also like interactive polls. So if you want to go to pollev.com/Rina Jensen 965, you can do that as well. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Again, thank you for coming to this talk today. I am a resiliency coach. I've been coaching since 2017. And at that time, I was doing all of the standard business coach stuff, goal setting, strategy, that kind of thing. And then I learned about ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, and how those experiences help shape our coping mechanisms and how those coping mechanisms are affecting us in our everyday lives, but also how we run our businesses. And that has transformed my practice completely. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about today are from the program called A Positive Intelligence. It's also a book that you're welcome to go purchase. And that program is actively changing these coping mechanisms so that we can show up in new and improved ways in both our personal lives and our professional lives. I have certifications in neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, adaptive mindset, confidence, mindfulness, and a few others. I also have my business administration degree from Coe College here in town, and I am unconventional and non-traditional. I like to point that out because sometimes the purple hair isn't super obvious, especially on video. But my idea of the status quo is no longer working. We need to develop new ways to deal with old problems. And that is to take a really good, long, hard look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves how we are running our businesses, because we are our businesses. So again, thank you. What we're going to talk about today is what is mental fitness, the 7 ways in which we think, which are negatively focused, the 5 ways to adjust those thinkings, those thoughts, and then more easy to use tools at the end, because I'm all about giving you the things that you need and that you can actively change every time I give a presentation. So here is our first interactive poll. Again, you can go to pollev.com/Rina Jensen 965, because we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of our 1-week quarantine. Let's check in and see where our stress levels are today. So you can also text this to you can text Rina Jensen 956 to 22333, and that will put you into all of the interactive polls that will be coming up in the future. So we'll give it just a second to let you guys do that. And if you are ranking at not at all, I would love to have a conversation with you about what you're avoiding. If you are in a manageable spot with your stress levels, then congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing and share your strategies with other people. And if you are, excuse me, borderline, more than concerned, or unmanageable, beyond stressed, then please let's talk after this session so we can help reduce that stress for you. So I also have 2 pit bulls while this is coming in, and they suddenly require all of my attention, just like children when you are on a Zoom call, right? So if you see me fidgeting, that's why. Also, I'm getting over a cold, so there will be some coughing. I can't control that, but I do appreciate your grace in that, so thank you. All right, so we are borderline and manageable. That's pretty fantastic. I'm not sure that everybody has had a chance to vote, but I know that we have a limited amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and move us into the next slide. What is mental fitness? And I'm going to make this super easy for you. Mental fitness is the ability to assess, address, and resolve problems faster and with less stress. Now, I want to be clear that this is not the same excuse me, as resilience, but it is required in order to be resilient. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Stress is inevitable. So is sadness, frustration, anger, and confusion. And I'm sure that we have all felt every single one of these emotions on more than one occasion, even within this last week. So how long we live in these emotions determines our level of resilience. So mental fitness, I want you to think of me as your mental fitness trainer. Just like a personal trainer or a physical trainer, it is our job to help you navigate the stressors of our life. If all of our experiences in our childhood have brought us to where we are today. So everything that we've experienced so far is considered kind of easy to navigate, right? We are pros at the things that we've experienced. But the second we decide that we want to climb Mount Everest, that becomes a little bit harder, and we're going to need some more preparation for that, right? Quarantine and a pandemic is our version of Mount Everest, and we were thrust at the bottom of it this time last year, and we were not sure what we were going to do. As the video stated just a second ago from MediaCom, we had to learn new things. We had to figure out new ways to do business in a world in which we were not equipped to do. So as your trainer, my job is to help you unlearn all the things that you learned as a child that are not serving you in a beneficial way and relearn new thought processes and ways to cope. Now, I have mentioned coping mechanisms a few times already, and I really want to give you a visualization of coping mechanisms. And here's where my unconventional and non-traditional approach really comes in handy. So I hope you enjoy this next slide. This is my version of what a coping mechanism is. If we break a bone, we know we can see the cast, we can feel the cast, we can feel the pain, we can smell the cast, we can all of the things that go along with our 5 senses in that physical healing of that bone, right? But our emotional casts our coping mechanisms. These are the things that we can't see. We know when the bone has healed, when it's time to take off the cast, but we don't know that the coping mechanisms that we have built up over our lifetime, we don't know exactly when to take those off until we start doing the work to do that. Now, excuse me, these coping mechanisms are unconscious typically. And there's a quote by Carl Jung that I love that puts this into perfect perspective. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that is exactly what these 7 ways of thinking have done. We have unconsciously built them into our thought process, built them into our neural pathways. And now is the time for us to take a really good look at that. So let's talk about the first of the 7. Excuse me. Mind reading. Who here is a mind reader? Psychic, medium, just me? Fantastic. On a more serious note, mind reading indicates that we are making assumptions about the other person's intent, that those people are purposefully doing things, saying things to get under our skin, irritate us, all the fun things, right? But we have a blind spot to that because we know what our intentions are, and we don't know what the intentions of the other person is. So we are assuming a lot of stuff that's happening or not happening, sorry. So as a mind reader, we think we have the answers, but we typically do not. The second one is emotional reasoning. Now, emotional reasoning is an over-reliance on our feelings to make decisions and take action. If we feel a certain way about Joe, then we're going to make those assumptions. We're going to mind read Joe, and that will affect how we interact with that person. Our feelings are not the truth. It's very important to remember that. What we think and how we feel are not necessarily the end all be all to everything surrounding us. So when we have a second to, when we take a second to actually stop and think, okay, what do I know to be true? Then we have the ability to take out our emotion and look at the facts. Super important. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because I really want to get into the tools in which to alter these. So the next one is overgeneralizing. I love this picture that I found. Everything is always epic forever. I guess that could be epically good or epically bad, right? We can make that determination. But overgeneralizing is definitely saying things like you always or you never. I used to say that all the time. Dad, you always do blah, blah, blah. And he's like, really, do I always do it? So it is about action versus personality. Are our actions really always what we are claiming them to be, or are we just deciding to focus on those? Is Brad really a bossy person, or is he in that moment telling you what needs to be done? There's a huge difference between those. The next one is catastrophizing. We are phenomenal what if game players. Phenomenal. Our what if game is so strong that we can figure out the whole path that we're going to take to our total demise. We will be homeless before we can think of a strategy or a way that we are going to live in the mansion that we want to live in, right? So if we're going to catastrophize, if we're going to play this what if game, then we owe it to ourselves and the situation and our businesses to play the what if game to the best possible outcome as well, so that we can see both sides of that. The next one, I couldn't find a super awesome picture to depict should, never, and ought. So here we have words. Making demands is about imposing beliefs and behaviors and ideas upon others and ourselves. We should run our business this way. We should micromanage our employees because they don't have the vision that we have for our business. We should stay in this relationship. We should be nice to this person. We should do whatever. The top two places that I can think of where making demands is the most prevalent is politics and religion, of which we are not going to discuss either today. But I just want you to take a look at politics and religion and ask yourself how many people are making demands upon others and themselves in both of those areas. And then you'll have it'll open up your eyes and ears to should, never, and ought. It's so prevalent in everything that we do. The next one is excessive self-criticism. This one hurts my heart and my soul. Because this is truly saying that we are not actually capable of anything, let alone anything amazing. There's really not much else to say about that. Our excessive self-criticism is what stops us. It's what gives us pause. It's what holds us back from doing the things that we want to do. It's listening to other people and then using that information to feed our excessive self-criticism. And this, of all of these 7 that I could change, this would be the one that I would work on with everybody from the start. The last one is selective memory. You guys are familiar with selective hearing, right? Well, selective memory is looking back on everything that you've had that's happened in your life, every experience, excuse me, every conversation, and only looking at the negative things that happened and ignoring all of the positives, all of the gifts, all of the benefits, all of the lessons. Because we are so used to doing this for our past, it also affects our future. So we are constantly looking at the negatives of what's coming up. Okay, so I know I went through those pretty quickly. I want to pause for questions and see if anybody has a question, needs further explanation on one of these. And I cannot see everybody because I only have a couple of faces, smiling faces looking at me at the moment. So if there are not any, then here's where our second poll comes in. You are more of a what thinker? Mind reader, emotional, generalizing? Selective memory, self-critical. It's really easy to see some of these in our daily lives over others. But I would go out on a limb and say that we all have a tendency to cycle through every single one of these. Okay. This is great. Thank you. Okay, so we know, I love quotes. I love them dearly. They just are so concise in all of my feelings. I like to share them. Here's another favorite quote of mine. Self-awareness is the ability to take an honest look at your life without any attachment to it being right or wrong, good or bad. Easy. Hard. This is our, what's the word I want to use? Discernment versus judgment. So we are constantly categorizing ourselves and other people, us versus them. That's the judgment. Polarizing, critical. It feeds our ego. But discernment is personal and it's a conscious choice. It is making choices and decisions that are for our benefit or for our company's benefit. And it is seeing things as they are without putting any intention or excessive thought behind it. I love this quote. If we don't have the ability to discern, then we are constantly feeding our ego. And our ego is, the way that I label our ego is that it is the facilitator of conflict because it needs to survive. We have all heard various ways to describe our amygdala, the reptile brain, the lizard brain. That piece of our brain is absolutely designed to keep us alive. It has no other purpose. It is our fight or flight. It is our self-criticism. It is everything that it believes we need. I have a hard time with that. So let's talk about how all of this information is relevant to the resilience of your business. We are our business. I am my business. Jen is her business. And how we show up, how we react, how we cope, how we interact in relationships is how we run our business. And in order to make any significant change in the stress that we have in our lives, we have to first be able to recognize and look at how we're showing up and discern, is this beneficial for us? Therefore, is it beneficial for our business? So this affects how we communicate. It affects our expectations. It affects our ability to provide excellent customer service. So these are what we're going to talk about next are the 5 sage powers that we can use to improve our thought processes. And these are them, the little superheroes that they are. Activate, navigate, explore, innovate, and empathize. In every single situation, you can employ one or more of these. And they're amazing once you get to know them. So let's get to know them. Let's talk about activate first. Activate is the awareness and interception of thoughts. Like we take on a movie, right? We have to be able to stop what we're doing, intercept those thoughts, or be prepared, knowing that we're going to go into a meeting that somebody is going to be in that we have some kind of feelings about, right? That we're going to assume that they're saying things and acting in a certain way to purposefully annoy us. So what can we do? This particular tool will allow us to put action and I totally just lost my train of thought, which happens sometimes, right? So activate will allow us to develop a strategy without procrastination, distraction, or interference of negative thoughts. It is a strategy for your desired outcome. The next one is explore. I love this one. I have the best story I'm going to share with you guys in a second, but explore is about asking questions to deepen your understanding. So it's like a child's curiosity. Have you ever taken a child somewhere and they're constantly touching or asking why? And while we as parents find that annoying, they are just enthralled by the new things that they're learning, right? So when you can deepen your understanding, it helps to alter that relationship with somebody, with an employee, with a spouse, with a friend, with a customer. It doesn't matter who it is. Tell me more. Those are the 3 best words that will ever help you to start a fight before it begins. Tell me more. So the story that I have for you that kind of changed my perspective on just the definition of a word was, it's a personal story because we are our businesses, right? So this personal story, I was making breakfast for this guy that I kind of liked. And I asked him, I was planning, he was coming for the weekend, and I said, I'm going to make breakfast. And he said, okay, I'd like pancakes. I'm like, fantastic, I'll make pancakes. He goes, okay, but get some real maple syrup. Okay, I will get some real maple syrup. Some of you may have heard this story. It is the funniest story to me to this day. So I go look for real maple syrup. I've never purchased real maple syrup. I didn't know how expensive it was, but I was like, this guy wants real maple syrup and I want to impress him. So I looked at all of the shelves. I didn't know what from what, and I decided on this one bottle of real maple syrup. And I thought this will be an exciting adventure, right? We'll see. So I make him breakfast. We use the real maple syrup, and I thought it tasted disgusting. I turns out I'm not a fan of real maple syrup. It is what it is, right? So he doesn't say anything. We eat our breakfast. And a couple weeks later, I go to his house and he makes pancakes and he pulls out Hungry Jack. And I was like, wait a second. Didn't you ask me to get you real maple syrup? And he said, yeah, this is real maple syrup. And I was like, what? Like, you think this is real maple syrup? And he's like, when you grow up using corn syrup on your pancakes, yes, this is real maple syrup. And had we not had that conversation, I never would have thought that something like real maple syrup could mean two entirely different things to people, which then made me realize what else is the definition not the same, right? So ask questions to deepen your understanding. It will help you to not draw any conclusions, but it will also help you to stop judging and start discerning. It will help you to not pit yourself against another person. It's an amazing power. I love this one. I'm constantly asking people now, tell me more. The next one is navigate. So navigate is the alignment of vision. Does this get us to where we want to go? So very specifically in your business, you have a vision and a mission statement, or you have an idea of where you want to be. You have core values, you have purpose, you have meaning. This one, when you have multiple options to choose from, this power will help you stay as close to your path as possible. Now, that does not mean that we're trucking along and then all of a sudden, bam, we have quarantine and restaurants can't have dine-in. So they have to get new phone lines. They have to be able to do online ordering. They have to be able to adjust in a way that will keep them trucking along and mostly on the same path. So that's what Navigate does. It will help you when you're stuck to make decisions based on your long-term goals. And when we do have that new obstacle, just remember, what is your long-term goal and how can we stay as close to it as possible? Do you guys have any questions so far? No? I'm just that good? I find that hard to believe. Okay, the next one is innovate. I refer to innovate as throwing all the spaghetti on the wall and seeing what happens. It is about breaking out of your boxes, your assumptions, your habits. It is about altering your beliefs about yourself and other people. It is how changing how you think business should be run and the expectations of others. The yes and the 10%, we are not going to change our beliefs instantly. We are not going to change our habits instantly, but we can take 10% of what someone says or does and think, okay, how much of that is right? Or we can take the whole thing and take 10% of that as right? We can say, okay, Joe had this great idea, not so great idea, but I like this much of it. So Joe, yes, and we can build upon that doing this. It is about suspending everything that we are taught to believe in every aspect and looking at the 10% that we can work with that will help us alter our thought processes and the way that we do things, and then build upon those by saying yes and. Okay. The next one, this is the last one, you guys, and you guys haven't asked a single question. So hopefully you're saving them all for the end. Empathize. Empathize is about visualizing the inner child. Sometimes we don't like doing this because we just really do not like the other person. However, we know that we have experienced things that have shaped the way that we interact with other people. Therefore, everybody else on this planet has had experiences that shape the way they interact with other people. We cannot be the only ones that has had that happen. So empathy, I want to be really clear on this, is not condoning behavior. It is an acknowledgement and a strategy development. So we need to be able to take a step back, and we need to look at a person and think, okay, we've already done the 10% and the yes and. So what strategy can we employ going forward, knowing these things about this person? And we're empathizing with them because we know that they've had certain experiences in their life that have shaped them. So the other important thing about this is when we are low in our own emotional reserve, like we just don't know that we've got it in us to people today, right? Because peopling can be hard. If we take a second and we try to empathize with another person and ourselves specifically, that will help to build back up our emotional reserve. We can't go to a park and watch the kids play without having compassion. So when we're in a meeting and everybody is just doing their peopling, that's when we can employ empathy. Again, I want to be very clear that empathy does not condone the action. It just allows you to strategize for future discussions. Okay. All right. So, other tools. I really enjoy these. So, other tools include breathing. Sounds so simple, right? Like we all breathe every single day. Did you know that the smokers in our lives, when they go outside to smoke, they're going outside not just because they're addicted to the nicotine, but also because they're removing themselves from the situation and they are breathing. So I'm not advocating for smoking in any way, shape, or form, but I am saying remove yourself from the situation, go for a walk outside, take in the air, breathe. There is a super easy 16, call it a 16 count breath. And if you guys are down for it, I would like to show you exactly how that works. You good? Some thumbs up, head nods. Perfect. Okay. So you don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to do anything else. You are just going to count 16 seconds, right? So you're going to breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold that for 4, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to breathe out for 4, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to hold that out breath for 4 as well. And this works wonders when you're in the car behind somebody that has just cut you off and you have a tiny bit of road rage coming in. 16 count breath will help you. Okay. The other one is a dance party. And I'm serious about this. You cannot be in a bad mood if you are jamming out and dancing to your most favorite song. This is where unconventional comes in handy. If you have a retail business and you just had an experience or something has happened and it's just the day is compounding upon itself, then about this time, 2:30 in the afternoon, crank up your favorite song in the middle of your store and just dance it out. Your customers are going to come in and they may be a little bit confused, but I would bet that a lot of them would join in with you. Because who doesn't like a good dance party, right? All right. The next one is finding the gift. This one is a little hard. There is a story, and I'm not going to tell the entire story, mostly because I don't remember it word for word. But in the Positive Intelligence book, he refers to this stallion, and this farmer has this stallion, and the stallion is stolen. And the people come to him, the people in the community come to him and they're like, this is such a terrible thing. And the farmer says, is it? Okay. So then the son goes to find the horse. The stallion comes back and the people come back and say, what an amazing gift. Like, you found your horse is back. Your son got him. It's fantastic. And the farmer's response is it? Okay. And then the son is, doing some work with the stallion and he breaks his leg. And the people come to him again and they say, oh my gosh, your son broke his leg. That's so tragic. What a horrible thing. And the farmer says, is it? Okay. And then there's war that breaks out in the area and the army comes and they want to take the son, but they can't because the son has a broken leg, so he can't fight. And the community says, oh my gosh, your son has been saved. How great is it that he has a broken leg now? And the farmer says, is it? Okay. So every tragedy has had some kind of consequence or some kind of gift that we don't necessarily see in the moment. So being able to find the gift is a gift in and of itself. There's another quote, because I love them, something to the effect of positive change does not always seem positive in the beginning. And that's where this comes in. All of these tools that we've talked about today help you disconnect from the emotion of the tragedy, the stress, the unknown, the fear, all of those things, and step away long enough to potentially see the gift or to realize how something not happening was a gift. We always, what's that other saying? Be careful what you ask for because you may get it. Right? So we always end up in a situation that is better for us in the long run. So we just have to be patient enough to find the gift. The other one is positive intelligence. Here's the book. If you can see me on your screen, this is the book. It is an amazing book. I highly recommend it for anybody that has a team of people, or if you just want to better your own relationships. It's an amazing, amazing book. The last one is gratitude. And gratitude is the thing that I share with everybody all the time, regardless of what they're doing, because it is the easiest way to rewire your brain, to unlearn and relearn the things that will help you be more resilient and increase your mental fitness. Gratitude is, so we talked earlier about selective memory. Because we're wired to see the negative things that happen around us, gratitude is the simplest tool that anybody could ever use to start to change that perspective. Scientifically proven, it's amazing. There was a research that was done. There were, I don't remember how many people, but they had them read this paper and count the number of pictures in this paper. And the people that did not have a very positive outlook on life counted every single one of them. And I think there were 42 by the time they'd gotten through it. On the second page, the people that did have a more positive outlook saw in one of the pictures that said, stop reading, there are 42 pictures, go and collect $250 extra. And because of that perspective, because of the ability to see the opportunities and to see the gifts and to see where we can pivot and alter and adjust when we need to, they received an extra bonus, right? Gratitude is that thing that will help you do that. The gratitude is the thing that will able you to see in the future all of the possibilities, because we are creating this path when we are looking at the last 24, 48 hours or however long that past is. If you are only looking for the positives or the things that you were good at or your successes for that day or week, then your brain automatically starts looking forward in the same way. So gratitude, like go write a gratitude journal. Okay, we've heard that before, right? Here are the 3 things that I tell everybody to write. The first one is, I'm amazing in all these ways. The first gratitude is about ourselves. What have we done? What have we succeeded at? What are what are the things that we have done to fill in the blank? If we start every day with a self-gratitude, then our perception of ourselves, the excessive self-criticism, will start to shift. If you don't do any other gratitude throughout the day, have this one be the only one then, the self-gratitude, because it will start to change everything that you think about yourself, your beliefs, everything. The second one is the world is amazing in all of these ways. This is the external gratitude. This is what went well in business, what went well with your children, what went well with your spouse, what went well with driving to work. You caught every single green light, right? Some days that will be, I am thankful for electricity, and that's okay. Some days our internal gratitude is, I had a good hair day today. That's enough. The last one, you still suck, but I'm trying. This one is about looking at that person that grates on every single one of your last nerves. And it kind of goes back to the empathy piece. When we think of that person, we have a physiological response. And that physiological response is their power over us, because we can't control that, right? We can't control our heart rate. We can't control our breathing. We can't control if we start shaking, depending upon how difficult that person is in our life. But we can empathize with that person in order to neutralize them. This is not forgiveness. This is not anything more than taking back your power from that other person and neutralizing the way that you react to them. So if Sally is, constantly looking at you sideways and taking credit for your work, then starting small with her would be something like, she had a good hair day today, right? It is literally only about neutralizing how that person is affecting you. Okay. Those are my 3 favorite gratitudes ever. So, how is this business resiliency? Do you want to guess, or do you just want me to tell you? Okay, I'll just tell you. Business resilience is the sustained ability to navigate the unknown with focused determination and a positive outlook. There are 4 pillars of fear, or foundations of fear, and the unknown is one of the biggest. If we don't know what's going to happen in the future, we have a tendency to freak out a little bit more. That's why we catastrophize, right? The other one is the universe is hostile. People are out to get us. That's why we are thinking people do things on purpose. Excuse me. The third one is just lost my brain. Oh, we're alone. We don't have anybody that we can depend on. We have to do everything by ourselves. And the fourth one really is gone, because I was not intending to share those things with you today. But I will look at that fourth one. I'll send it to Emily, and then maybe we can add it on at some point. But those 4 foundations of fear dictate how we do things in life. If we are terrified of the unknown, we're not going to be super resilient. We're not going to focus on what we can do. We're only going to focus on what we need to prepare for that may or may not happen. All right. That really is the end of the presentation, and I welcome all of your questions. And I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all of your beautiful faces.
If nobody else wants to hop on and unmute themselves, I'll kick it off.
Perfect.
Break the seal, as it were. At the beginning of your presentation, you shared a little bit about ACEs.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more what that is and how people can use it for themselves.
Absolutely. ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences, is a test that was created in the 80s in California by a super large healthcare organization out there because they wanted to understand what was happening in kids. And some of the experiences are divorced parents, a parent with mental illness, physical emotional, mental abuse, a parent in jail. There are 10. There are 10 of them. I had taken the ACE test and I scored a 4 in that, which is considered the low end of the high side. And that was when I started to realize how all of those experiences have shaped how I interact with people, how I protect myself, how I don't want to be a burden. So I don't want to make cold calls, right? Um, who enjoys cold calls anyway? But it was really interesting to have that information and see some of those experiences, my coping mechanisms, right? My emotional casts are affecting every aspect of my life. There is, if you just Google ACEs or adverse childhood experiences, you can find the test online, or I can send you a link, Emily, and we can share it with people if they want it later. Great question. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else want to go? You can unmute yourself, or if you want to type it in the chat, I'll read it out loud. I promise we don't fight.
I know, right? All right.
You just did a really good job explaining everything.
I think it was so entertaining. People are like, I got it. Angie, you unmuted. Did you have something?
Yeah, I know this is a lot for one-on-ones when developing your own business, but how does this apply, do you think, more when you're working with larger groups of people, like 10 or more? How do you apply some of these?
Yeah, it's easy to apply these in every situation. So every interaction that we have is a relationship, right? And our quality of life is fully dependent upon our happiness within relationships. So whether it's transactional or intimate, it doesn't matter. We can empathize at any time. We can innovate at any time. The other, it helps if people have the same language to have these kinds of conversations so that they're not judging, but they have the ability to discern. Positive intelligence does have a 6-week program that is phenomenal to provide that kind of language to everybody. And if it's not something that can be done internally, my recommendation is to find somebody to come in and help create that language with you. Did that answer your question, Angie? Okay, thanks. Hi, Carolyn. Anybody else have any questions? You're muted, doll. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, you guys. Thank you for having me today. And I really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, you can email me at rina@rinajensen.com. And I am happy to have this conversation with you anytime.
And then before we all take off here, I just want to share, this is part of a series. We will have another topic next month, second Tuesday at 2 p.m. Nice and easy to remember. We'll have Adam Engel from Running Robots, who will share 7 tips to ride the digital revolution and improve your business's online presence and e-commerce sales type stuff. You can register for that on our website right now, and I will put that link in the chat right now. I want to make sure to thank our sponsors one more time. So thank you to Mediacom Business, BRL Human Resources Consulting, the cities of Coralville and Iowa City, and Terry Lockridge and Dunn for their support of this series. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the beautiful day outside, and I hope to see you next month.